Introduce our guest today, leader behind WasteX at Conservice. His name is Dax, and WasteX is Conservice's specialized service that provides procurement, reporting, and advisory services focused on enhancing waste and recycling utility bill management and sustainability. I am reading that off a sheet, so I get it right. WasteX is a seamless integration with Conservice's broader utility solutions, including gas, electric, water, cable, and internet services for multifamily, commercial, and industrial properties. I get it right, Dax?
Nailed it. Absolutely.
All right.
Conservice, so a little bit of background. Conservice is the nation's largest utility manager for real estate owners and operators. And WasteX is a subset of that, helping manage all the trash needs for the property.
And so today we were going to focus on automation and how it's transforming waste management. But what I wanted to do first, Dax, was go back a little bit in time. You had mentioned to me yesterday when we were chatting ahead of this, that you had some stories about way back when Conservice used to start, how that ran. You want to share that?
Sure. Yeah, I was telling Brian, back in the day, every utility invoice came to us in the mail, USPS. We would drive to the post office, a couple of us. We would hand pick up the mail, drive it back to our office. We would individually open every letter. We would put a barcode on each invoice. We would manually scan it. We would 10-key it in our system, and then we would walk it over to another person to be paid. Now, we were much smaller back in the day, but we physically touched every invoice that came into our office. And I can't even imagine what staffing we would have to do that today.
Yeah, what's the volume sort of, how can you quantify that then versus now? If that was 10,000 or 1,000 or some small number, what's it now?
We're just over 2 million invoices a month.
Wow, million invoices a month. Okay. Yeah. Need a couple of bodies.
Can you imagine how many barcodes that would take to do that? 24, 25 million barcodes a year just to digitize. Crazy.
It reminds me of the Seinfeld episode.
I was going to say, I remember in our waste brokerage, we had a similar but smaller scale problem. The mail person would bring in a crate. You'd have to open them all. We had an army of interns from Pitt at the time. And we had a stamping system. So we had a stamp that was the grid that had a couple data points that you had to fill in. It would move its way through the system. So touching it multiple times, really.
Yeah. Can you imagine just dumping that mail on a table and then just hand sorting it? Those days are long gone.
So the tech trend we ran, that tech trend report, it showed that 70% of those surveyed believe that workflow automation will accelerate waste management in 2025. It's interesting, the sentiment in that survey, but also conversations we're having, across different parts of the business. For example, we use Ramp. That to me is a great example of automations where it used to be that I had to take a picture of the invoice, that the receipt from like a lunch, and then I would put it into the Ramp text message thing, and it would say back, what was this for? Now it tells me what it's for. It says, I think this is an executive lunch. Say 1 for yes, right? And so people often think of automations as these big things that are happening, but in reality, they're sometimes just little guys that just make little teeny improvements over and over and over and over and over again. So I was thinking, Dax, is there anything in your mind that comes to mind that you're seeing inside of your world that's automation driven?
Yeah, everything within our world is automation driven now, and we're continuing to push that direction. Personal example, I had a team member on my team that we had to transfer invoices from one section to another. And there were so many clicks being done every single day, they actually got carpal tunnel. And by being able to go in and just automate that transfer of bill images, literally changed his life. I mean, physically changed his life. And so it doesn't have to be how do we automatically receive 2 million invoices a month? It could be, how do you streamline that one process to make it more efficient, but also make your employees' lives better? It doesn't have to be a big thing, but can make a major impact.
Yeah, and now his hand doesn't hurt all day.
Yes, he's much happier individual. Well,
Well,
yeah.
one of the things that we were chatting about also, Dax, was the use of sensors. With the rising cost of everything from people and processes and payments and regulations, what we're seeing in my conversations talking to you is that customers' expectations continue to increase in, not necessarily in their, the customers continues to be reasonable, but they also have a lot of push on them from regulations, from their investors. And so they're getting squeezed, their budgets are tighter, and they generally want accurate answers now, right? And so what have you seen in the sensor space that's delivering for your customers?
If you have a compactor, a larger compactor, 20, 30, 40-yard compactor, and you have not explored a compactor monitor, you need to today. This can be a game changer for the investors, for the owners, because they can save a lot on their waste spend. And this can also be a game changer for the property manager because they're not having to worry about their compactor. Are we going to get packed out? Is this too full? When do I need to make the call myself? Completely automated. It takes the headache off the property team. It saves the owner money. It saves your investors money. Like, why would you not automate this thing? So it's been an absolute game changer for any one of our clients that come on, they have compactors. It's one of the first things we do.
Yeah, it's nice when you hear through the grapevine that things are working the way you expect them to, right?
100%.
It's fun that way. So what do you see in the Dax? Automation sounds easy, right? It's like, oh yeah, just automate things. But what do you think slows it down? Are you seeing anything in your mind that people put up as hesitations that we should talk about?
Yeah, one of the biggest things, people are hesitant. They're fearful that they're going to lose their job. They're fearful that, this AI, this automation, this is going to come in. It's a big, scary thing. When what we've seen in our industry is you need automation to keep up. In order to be the leader of the pack, like Conservice is, in order to run an efficient operation, you have to have automation. It's not necessarily going to take a job. It may change the job. It may make it so that you're doing something more meaningful, more impactful that you need a human to do. But if you can get rid of those smaller tasks or automate those tasks away, it's going to provide a ton of value for your company and for the individual. We've moved people out of doing those day-to-day tasks that they didn't find a lot of joy, a lot of passion. They didn't find a lot of value in clicking the button into something where they can actually provide.
They found carpal tunnel.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely, right? We're solving the world's problems here. So I think it allows people to make a more meaningful impact in the world rather than just clicking the button, checking the box.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have you seen, guys, a couple things last week or two of the AI bots that can chat with each other? You use voice mode from one to chat with another one, and you use your laptop and your computer.
Beep, boop, beep,
well,
boop,
so there
beep.
was one yesterday that really stood out to me. So somebody has their phone on, and then they have their laptop, two different systems, and the one says, "Hey, I'm an AI chatbot helping Charlie get a dinner reservation," and then the other one says, "Oh, I'm actually an AI chatbot who takes dinner reservations. This is great. Do you want to switch over to beep boop mode or some different word like that?" And there's some protocol where they can start to have a communication that's faster than the AI chatbot trying to articulate words, and it's almost like the old dial tones. Remember how the phone, that 9 makes a different sound than 4, and so on, which is wild. And to your point, Dax, of getting out of maybe the mundane work and being able to work on something more exciting. How many times people are on hold? A lot of the interface in the waste world is still phone based, and maybe 5 minutes, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 25 minutes on hold to try and get a request in, and more little wins that can add up into a good solution here.
So Dax, one last thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up. One of the biggest things we've observed and we've been paying attention to is reporting, because we went through a phase. If we go back in our career, we started in 2011, and reporting was coming up as a thing. Okay, we need to be able to do a diversion report, and then from a diversion report, we moved on to this concept of sustainability, and then from sustainability, we moved on to ESG, and then now it's all sort of all mashed together in this thing of, well, we just need everything, right? And in your unique space where you guys have all of the utility data, which is pretty unique in the marketplace around us, as we focus purely on the waste space. What do you see from a reporting angle, and what's coming next? What do you see coming next?
People want their data faster and more accurate than it's ever been before. In the past, Conservice, we really started out just as a bill pay and a billing service for residents. But to your point, people now want to know what their waste diversion numbers, and they want those numbers real time. A lot of the industry, the executive bonuses could be tied to diversion reports, like what is happening, how are we driving change at our properties? And so they want it yesterday, and they need it to be accurate. And by utilizing automation, you're no longer having you could still have an error in the reports, right? I'm not going to say automation's 100% accurate every time. But you get away from having to have somebody fat finger 10 key that number wrong, and we go from 100 gallons of water to 10 million gallons of water. That's a big difference, right? We could go from 1% diversion to 100% diversion. That's not accurate. Somebody's going to catch that. That's going to be a problem. And so by utilizing automation, the reports are accurate and they're on time. And that has to happen in today's world.
I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who explained to me that the way he looks at it is every 10, 20, 25% that he can push into a automated bucket and get out of, the things that are routine that a computer can do, and have his people focus on the things that are exceptions that he wants his humans to focus on. He wants his people and their intelligence and their experience to focus on. That's what he looks for. It's okay, give me a 10% change, give me another 10% change, give me another 20% change. And so as he gets his people more focused on those exceptions, he sees way better return on his team's time investment and his money investment in both software and team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
100%.
So as we look out at reporting, Dax, if it's more rapid and more urgent, I think that's where the sensor factor becomes more and more a component of this, right? Where those things have to be combined with the source of truth, which is the invoice, and the sensor record. That sound right?
100%. 100%. Why we love, for the compactor monitors, we use the Pioneer compactor monitor. And I love the fact that I can go in and I can pull a report and I'm going to have the accurate data. I know how full the compactor was. I know that my diversion reporting is accurate. And that's through automation. I don't have to rely on a team member going through 10-king the tonnage off of a bill, putting it into Excel, having to run calculations on it. Those days are done. We can't, those days are done. We're not going back there.
Especially your point, Dax, being able to keep up.
Charlie,
Every 30 days the cycle resets. So if you to get that accurate report, it has to be timely, and if it doesn't show up in a timely fashion, cycles reset and you're behind again, and you're delayed on being able to make a change.
Yep.
What was that, Brian?
You want to bring us home?
Yeah. No. Thanks for joining us, Dax. LinkedIn Live's not new to us because it's our second one, so we can't say that anymore. But it's great to get spend the morning talking about this, and looking forward to how automation can continue to drive in this waste space. I think it's been awesome to watch the industry evolve and start to leverage some of these new technologies. Maybe someday we'll have some of those phone calls, like I mentioned, be automated too. But awesome to see the way that you guys are growing and using a bunch of these different tools and supporting just a really unique position in the market. And it was great chatting.
Absolutely. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Dax. See you again.
Later.